And we are live. Let's just check this real quick. I think we're live. And okay. We're live. All right. We're just checking some stuff. Okay. We are live on YouTube and Rumble. And make sure everything's running. So we'll give it a minute or two. This is the new 9 o'clock slot. So we're back. We're back on. Okay. This is the new 9 o'clock slot where, everyone in the Pacific time zone, happy dinner time. It's about 6 o'clock there. So that's great. What do we got? 7 in the mountain time. What's up, Denver? 7 o'clock. Grab those drinks after dinner. Come hang out. Watch the show. We got Central Time, 8 o'clock. It's prime time. What's up, Chicago? It's prime time. It's time to watch. It's time to join in. It's time to have some fun. If you don't know me, I am the angriest man in Orlando, Florida. If you've heard the news, we're ready to get hit with Hurricane Helene, although we're really not getting hit with any of it. It's going up to the Panhandle, so I'm safe. Thank you for caring. Let's start the show. Let's go. All right, so before we get into the topics, I was asked this weekend, am I the angriest man in Orlando, or is that just a name? And I'm going to say this. I'm taking the crown. I am taking the crown of the angriest man in Orlando until somebody decides they want to take the crown off me, okay? So, yes, I'm the angriest man in Orlando. Anyone else from Orlando want to change that? Come on the show. We'll argue. We'll see who's angrier. We'll go from there. So, yeah. So, hopefully that new person is watching. So, yeah. All right. We got 3 minutes on the clock. Okay, so if you're live, thank you for watching. If this is playback, thank you for finding me and watching. Got a lot of people finding me on Twitter. You can find me there at X with my name, The Angriest Man in Orlando. I post from time to time. You'll see news bits, fun stuff about Disney, and other things that make me angry. So a lot of people are joining up on that. So if you want to jump on over to X, type in The Angriest Man in Orlando, and just hit the, subscribe or follow or join or whatever. Just follow me there. You'll find all the information there. Okay, so our new formats, 3 topics. Let's start going. Politics. Let's break into that. We've got 6 more weeks till the election, so 42 days away. And it's actually going to be on a Tuesday, so this is going to be weird. So I will be voting, so I will go vote, and then I'll jump on and we'll do the show at 9 o'clock. Same regiment we got set up right now. We'll do that. So I will be voting in it. I think everyone pretty much has a handle on who they're voting for. There may be a small segment of the population right now who may just be kind of up in the air, still not quite sure. I think those are the ones who can't stand Trump, but really don't want to vote for Harris. And And Kamala actually came out and said, hey, I would be willing to do one more debate on October 23rd through CNN. And President Trump came out and said, no dice. And I think he's right. I think it's a fair move. That late in the election, most people are going to be doing early voting, and they're going to already have voted. To the true patriots who go on the day of voting and vote, I think most of them already have their mind made up too. So I don't think it hurts President Trump not doing it, but it could probably hurt Harris if she were to really fumble the ball on that one. So I think that the Harris group is you either really think she's something special, something amazing, she's going to change the world, or you think she's dumb as a rock. I don't think there's any real in between right now with her. So the camps are pretty much set on that. I think it's the people who think she's dumb as a rock, but also cannot stand Trump, who are kind of, waiting for something, some kind of sign, some kind of weird occurrence. I mean, if there's another assassination attempt, I mean, that's 3. I think that might be your sign that someone really doesn't want this guy in there. So we've got that to look forward to. Not much more going on in politics. Let's see. President Joe Biden gave his last speech to the UN today, actually this morning, and it's the last speech he's going to do there. I really don't see him running again in 4 years, so that's pretty much wrapped up. But honestly, I mean, his presidency is pretty much done anyway. I'm not really sure if they're going to pull out any, major legislation. He's going to do some remarkable thing. Like, he's just going to hand out a few more awards, maybe do some pardons. I don't know if they're even going to do that. It would be really sketchy if they do. And that's pretty much it. I mean, he's pretty much off the clock right now. No one really believes he's still running the country. From what I've heard, it's a team of people who are now going to take the phone calls, take the emergencies, handle things that are going on. So, I mean, we're pretty much on an autopilot right now. Scary to think about, but the country's on autopilot right now. I think everyone kind of has a understanding that that's what's going on and hasn't quite attacked us, even though it would actually be a pretty pristine opportunity, just saying. So we're kind of just waiting to see what happens. Some political news, I guess, would be the Department of Justice has decided to file a lawsuit against Visa, labeling them as a monopoly in the debit card segment / credit card segment. I find the timing really suspect. It's kind of weird. All of a sudden, the government is actually starting to work. Because, I mean, the merit of the case is pretty simple. Visa has much more control over money transactions and money from vendors to people. So, I mean, you can say they have a monopoly over everything. There are a few other companies that you could work with: MasterCard, American Express, Zelle, to some extent, I guess. What's the other one? PayPal. But, I can remember the commercials in the 90s where, Visa, it's everywhere you want to be. Those were Super Bowl commercials. Like, everybody knew about Visa. And this is 30 years ago. So why all of a sudden do you guys want to drag them out, bring them into court, and say, oh, Yeah, they're a monopoly and we need to break them up and we need to change things because they're charging absorbent fees that have been pretty much going on for the last 30 years. Again, it's a little weird. Months ago, they tried actually stopping the border, which didn't really work, but it was worth a shot. They're trying to go after companies now for illegal practices. So why now? What's the outcome they want out of this? It's really strange. Don't know if it's for PR. I don't think it's a very business friendly atmosphere if that's what they're trying to shoot for. It's a little strange. Gonna have to see what happens and go from there. I mean, it's just like I said in January, it's going to be really strange all the way up to November. This year was going to be really odd. There was going to be a lot of crazy stuff going on. And yes, some of the more strange stuff has happened. You've had, you know, attempted assault on a former president. You've had a coup of a presidential candidate removed and replaced. And now you're having these weird investigations into companies that you've pretty much known were doing what they were doing the whole time. So kind of odd, kind of strange. Not really sure where they're going with that. Could be for headlines. Could be. I don't know. Um, it's kind of strange, kind of stuff to watch. Other than that, the political field has been pretty quiet so far. No major uproars with anything, no investigations, no crazy stuff. Globally, we've had the uptick in violence over in the Middle East, now between Hezbollah and Lebanon and Israel. We've seen some blasts over in Russia from the Ukraines. So the war rolls on. We're not leaving. They're screaming it. And yeah, so far, not to make light of this or anything, but nothing major has happened. But yeah, people blowing up is pretty major. So yeah, it's crazy. It's madness. It it's unsettling, but if you don't look at it, I guess you don't really know and you're fine with it. So I'm not saying for us to go over there or anything. No, 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 no. I'm not saying that. I'm saying just the escalation of violence is off-putting and there doesn't seem to be the ceasefire and peace talks that people were asking for months ago. Those seem to be completely taken off the table at this point. So, other than that, let's see what else is up there. Australia is currently going through the if you say what I don't like, I'm going to shut you up campaign. They're trying to pass some laws to go after people's posts. Very similar to what was going on in England and still is. So, to our friends in Australia, I stand with you for free speech. Even if it hurts some people's feelings, sometimes you got to hear stuff and it's not always the best. So, yes, free speech for Australia. All right, we're going to move into economics because we've got a whole lot going on that front. So we're going to start with a company you may have seen at the grocery store or, some retail stores have them too. The Tervis Company. They make the aluminum cylinder cups with the little covers on them and straws. They just recently filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy. They're a Florida company out of North Venice. It is a restructuring bankruptcy, but they are going to be laying off about 60 people starting in November and into December. So if you want a Tervis cup, they have them at Publix stores, which is a grocery store in the Southeast. You might want to grab one now. There seems to be some debtors that need to be paid off. So production is going to be a little slow. Orders are going to be a little slow. And you'll definitely want to get yours before they run out. There is the Yeti cups, the Stanley mugs, if you want to go with that brand. But apparently that's what's been really hitting them the hardest. A lot more competition. A lot of people are just not buying as many. I know they have a lot of different variations, a lot of different pictures on them. You can buy them for different groups, sports teams, all that stuff. So it appears the buying aspect of people is pulling back, as evidenced by our next story. So there's a couple banks. Some of them you might know. JP Morgan Chase Bank, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo just wrote off $5 billion in credit card delinquencies and loan delinquencies, which most of them were probably commercial loan delinquencies. The housing foreclosure stuff is still kind of coming through the system. But altogether, $5 billion with a B, $5 billion has been written off for those three banks alone. Now, there was last month Goldman Sachs writing off another, it was either 4 billion or 400 million. Gotta double check that. When they were closing out the sale of their Apple Card and their GM card. So if you got an Apple Card from Apple, they've been out for about 5 years or so. Or the GM buying card, which was, you saw advertisements everywhere for those. You could get points towards a new GM vehicle. Both of those cards have now been sold over to Barclays, the bank in England. And Goldman is just writing off the losses. If you got the Apple Card, bought yourself a new Apple iPhone, bought the headphones, the EarPods, the iPad, and then decided not to pay for it, well, Goldman's just writing it off, sending it to a collection agency, and they're not going to deal with it anymore. They don't want to deal with it anymore. And that's the bigger thing, is these banks don't want to deal with credit cards anymore. So if you've tried to get a credit card and got declined, it's a little bit you. It's you. But it's a little more that banks are really dialing back the credit right now, and they're not giving out as much. And so it's going to be really tight. So if you're looking for a new credit card, go to someone you've already had an account with or have had accounts with them for a very long time. You'll have a better chance at getting that. But the credit crunch is now hitting delinquency depot, we'll say. And it's just people are running out of money. There's no more free money anywhere. There's no more stimmies. There's no more extra bonuses or anything. And a lot of companies are either furloughing, laying off, cutting back on hours. You're not making as much money. You can't pay your bills. You gotta, some of the first ones to go are the credit cards. You just don't pay for them. You got your stuff. You're cool. Then you probably let one of these two, either the house or the car, go. If you're going to live in your car, you keep paying your car. You let the house go. If you're going to stay at your house and just commute through some other way, then you let the car go and you just say, I'll get another one later. So we're at that point where it's it's a little bit kind of murky on where everyone's going. So, you know, things are a little crazy right now. Hold on. Just a second. Okay. So things. There we go. Right? Yeah. Okay. We're good. Technical difficulties on my end, but we're here. So, like I was saying, um, the the economics of everything right now is no one has any money. The smart money's on the sideline, been there for a little bit, but everyone else is now actually run out of money. So, oh yeah, what was the biggest news of the last week or so? The rate cut. Okay, what was the rate cut? Well, that's the federal bank deciding that they were going to cut the federal rate, which actually mostly does credit cards, mostly does auto loans and all that sense. The mortgage rate is actually going a little bit different than what the Fed rate's going right now. So they decided to cut it by 50 basis points, or about a half a point. Like I said last week, yeah, I've been calling this for a while. September was going to be the first month that they did it. If it was going to be a 25 basis point, it was going to be okay. It's a little shaky. We're trying to correct everything. We're going to fix it from here. If it was a 50 basis point, it was the Fed hitting the panic button. And I believe the Fed just hit the panic button. They see the unemployment rolling up. They see companies not being able to hire people or buy new infrastructure for their company. They are seeing credit slow down in a lot of places. They realize they are moving into recession territory, which I think we've already actually been in. But, they're looking at metrics that are a little, 30 days old or so. A lot of these, reports that come out, the August report comes out in September. So you're looking at stuff that's a month away and you're trying to make a decision off of that. So, yeah, I believe they hit the panic button. Here in Florida, you're seeing it a lot worse. Home prices are going down. The inventories in a lot of areas are doubling, which means without new buyers coming into the market, you're going to have to start cutting the price on that home to get it moved. You've got way more competition. So start looking for that. I would start, just making some offers, throw out 30% under what the listing price is, and see what you get with it. You might get some people who are desperate enough who just say they can't handle it anymore. The insurance is too much. The taxes are too much, and they just want to get out. And you might be able to get a good deal on something. Will it go lower? Yeah, it absolutely can. But, I mean, if you can afford it right now, it might be worth it to jump into. If you are a conservative person like myself, just keep waiting. It's only going to go down, because if you look at the mortgage rate, 30-year mortgage rate is now down to 6.2. It was about 6.1 last week, but certainly a far cry from 7.5 in some instances, 7.9 as of October of last year. So roughly in a year, you went down about a point and a half. Okay, so why aren't people jumping to go buy these homes? Well, the prices are still too high. Your $400,000 to $800,000 home, I think you've pretty much run out of buyers who can actually afford it. Your $1 million and up homes, yeah, you're going to find the people that can buy those loans. That's not too much of a problem. They're doing steady sales right now, but your typical $400,000 home, which was an average for a while, it's just not moving. It's really not moving. So if you're selling under that, you should be able to move it pretty well. Pretty well. It's a good market for that. The interest rate is now lower, so you can get a better price on it. But that middle ground right now is just getting hammered. So you're stuck in your home. You don't know what to pay anymore. You stop paying your credit cards, and credit card delinquencies are now hitting highs. Auto loan delinquency are now hitting highs. Tell me how this is a good economy. If everything's rolling along, trucking along perfectly fine, we're going for our soft landing, why do you need to lower the interest rate that much? That's what you need to ask out of that. So it's not going to be pleasant for those who own assets. I don't feel great for you. But if you owned it long enough, then you should be okay. If you've owned your home at least 5 years, you should be okay. It's going to level out. If you own your car for at least 5 years, you're going to be okay. It's going to level out. You didn't have as much money in the car as you really had a couple years ago. It's kind of leveling back down, maybe a little bit lower. But it's not going to be so insane. Now, if you've bought 2 years ago a home or a car, you might just try to trade in, try to swap something, try to get around it. But damn, man, it's gonna get ugly over the next year. So just be prepared for that, and just unreal. So where do we go from here? Well, we're seeing through different stories. I've talked to different people. Excuse me. That there's going to be 2 more rate cuts coming up, November and December, quarter point each. So we'll be down a whole point by the end of the year. That might help some credit card borrowers. I would say if you've got balances more than 20,000, you'll see a big difference. Those of you with under 20,000, you may not see a huge decrease in interest because you're still paying on that stuff and you're not ahead of the game too much. Because I say this because people with 20,000 or more in balances usually pay them off each month. So they may not see the interest. If they do let it linger, it was probably a big purchase. So, they'll see a difference in interest each month from this month into next month. But it to them, it's not that much of a big thing. You got to understand that, people with 20,000 in credit are probably making 250,000 plus. Those people not completely struggling right now. They're making it around stuff. They have some resources. It's those in the middle class that are from 50 to 150, 200,000. Those are the people getting whacked right now. And there's not much that's going to save you unless you can realistically roll back expenses. Incomes aren't getting higher quick enough. So you got to just cut the spending. If it means you got to take one less trip this year or no trip at all, If it means you might have to put buying off a new car for another year, you kind of have to. It's just not going the way everyone thought it was going to go. Nothing stays the same forever. So you got to just roll with it and try to, survive till 25. That's the logo. Survive till 25. Okay, we've got some comments I'm going to go over right now. We've got Mary Jade Skywalker saying, there's a hurricane coming. There's a hurricane a-coming. Okay. I'm guessing you're out by the west coast of Florida or the Panhandle. Yeah, there's a hurricane coming. So hunker down. Hope you're safe. Hope I'll see you next week. And moving into our last topic, we'll use one more comment. On the dating scene, what do you think of burned haystacks method? Okay, I don't think I've ever heard of that. So let me take a second to actually put that in and see a burned haystacks dating. Okay, the burned haystack method, dating method, is a dating strategy that involves setting strict rules for communication on dating apps to filter out unsuitable matches. The method is based on the idea that dating apps recycle profiles that are swiped left on, so blocking people prevents them from being shown again. Okay. The method's trademark phrase is block to burn, which means blocking anyone who doesn't meet your standards, even if they haven't offended you. Okay. The theory is the method is based on discourse analysis, which looks at what people reveal without meaning to. Ruthlessly filtering out unsuitable matches by setting strict rules for communication on dating apps. All right. Okay. I'll take that. What do I think of it? I think it's a really terrible idea. Okay. Number one, you're not actually meeting these people. You're just seeing a small snapshot of who they are, which can be either a really good thing or a really bad thing. Okay. Here's the sense. You have somebody who's shy, somebody who's trying to maybe not be all out there, may not have the best photos, and doesn't know much to put up on their profile. Okay, so maybe it's a couple sentences, it's something weird, it's a quote of a movie, something that most people are going to look at and say, well, you didn't put any effort into this, so why should I even choose you? Okay, so is that right to just push that person off to the side just because they might have been a little hesitant to be on there? Now, there's other people on the bad side that, can easily disguise their life to make it look better than it actually is. So if you set this rule that, well, I need to know that this person has a home and wants to settle down and this, that, and everything else, well, it's very easy to just put that up there and just trick people into thinking that's what you want without actually wanting that. I read a lot about women who put long-term relationship in theirs, looking for long-term relationships, see a guy who has seeking long-term relationship, and within the first couple message, he's already like, oh, hey, why don't you just come over and hang out at my house and watch a movie? Which is basically code for Netflix and chill. So even though the guy puts it on there and it hit your mark of that's my filter I wanted, doesn't mean jack. Okay. Now, if you want to use this for actually meeting people in person and say, okay, maybe they didn't look like this, or maybe they were this position, or something that you heard in a conversation from them was kind of like, okay, I don't really like that. That's fine. I can see that. You have standards, or you have a perspective of what your future mate is going to be. So you say, okay, this person was too short. This person was too tall. This person was not quite what I was expecting. That I understand. But with dating apps, it's so easy to just simply fool people that I wouldn't just say, "Oh, just look for this one thing, you'll find a great person," and who's that? I think that's actually a horrible way to get yourself psyched up a lot and completely disappointed through it all. Um, what I would say is go out and meet a lot of people. Once you start meeting a lot of people, you start seeing the things that match up with certain attitudes and certain instincts. Like, guy shows up late all the time, you start realizing that guy's not the best. You know, uh, it's really it's a hands-on kind of thing now because of social media and because of trying to, keep up with the Joneses. Nobody's really real online anymore. You know, unless they're actually really talking to you. Like me, I'm here. I'm explaining my positions to you. You understand who I am and what I'm doing. I think you can make a fair assessment whether you really like me or you really don't like me. It's a lot easier because you hear my voice, you see me, and you hear what I'm saying. If you understand it, then you know where I'm going with things. But for somebody to be behind a screen and simply just typing stuff out, it's very easy to manipulate that stuff. And you go and meet this person and you just wasted a whole night on this person because you thought it was, or it fit this category, or you said no. I'm not saying to like every profile that comes through, but you need first set a type of standard that you do want. If you want a guy who's 6 feet tall and six figures and has a six pack, well, okay, set that standard. Will you get it? It depends on where you're at. Depends on what city you're in. There's a possibility you could. Realistically, probably not. The average income for people in America is actually $50,000. It's not six figures. It's not everyone's a millionaire. It's not that at all. Everyone's averaging around $50,000. It's average income, single person. Couples, I believe, are averaging around 75,000 or so. And these are the averages. Okay, so when you see people walking around with $500 bags and everything, more than likely they saved up their money or they bought it on credit. It's not like they just walked into the store one day, said, I like that bag, and just bought it. No, it was something they were thinking about, and they were like, ooh, I like that. How can I get that? It's not, oh, yeah, I like that. I'm going to grab it right now. So stop with the keeping up with the Joneses and just keep rolling. And I want to address this. If you're in a terrible relationship and it's not working, I'm not endorsing you to stay into it. Okay? I know I say, hey, women, you should stand by your man and you should support him and help him. But if he's a real asshole, then no, don't freaking stay with him. I am not saying to stay with him for that factor. But what I'm saying is you have to realize, is he working for you? Is he working for himself? Is he building himself up? Is he getting things better for you and him? Yes, absolutely. This, yes, yes, yes. If you, as soon as you see the red flag, you delete. I get that. I get that. But what is a red flag? Like, there's a lot of different red flags for different people. You can't just roll through and be like, "Oh, well, this will never work. This will never work. This will never work." I I I hate to judge people on a group basis. I always judge people on an individual basis. Does this person meet the qualifications at this time? That's it. That's it. Because your qualifications are going to change. When you were 20 years old, you wanted something completely different than when you're 40 years old. So qualifications are going to change over time. You may not want to just be looking for the same person over and over and over. You may want to change stuff. If you're dating somebody who makes a lot of money and you just keep getting beat up every date and you're not getting anything out of it, hey, you know what? Go date somebody who doesn't make a lot of money. See if things are different. As long as he has a good personality, looks the way you want him to look, go try him out. Go see. You never know. Like, it's crazy stuff. It's crazy stuff. Let me bring this comment into it. Prolonged texting without meeting is a red flag. Okay, here's a rule that I live by. Within 3 days of talking, you should set up a date. If it goes longer than 3 days, I don't know if it's a red flag, but it's definitely something of concern because, yes, they could be in a relationship, they could be dealing with somebody else. So you don't want to be that third wheel, third spoke on the wheel, or whatever the terminology is. But there are people nowadays that are dealing, especially single moms. If you want to go date single moms, this is going to happen. You may not hear from her because she had to take the kids to dance class, had to do sports, had to go to the football game on Friday, had to go to the basketball game, had to go to cheerleader practice, had to go get groceries at the store. So, okay, I didn't hear from you for 2 days. Well, she's trying to get her family. I'm not saying she shouldn't, work with her family and do stuff for her family. She's a single mom, but you may not hear from her for a couple days. Again, this is one of the pitfalls of dating. There are people who run multiple businesses where you may not hear from them for a couple of days simply because they're just running around. I've had a rough couple of days. Okay. I have been on my phone, but for the most part, for business purposes, I have not been able to really keep in contact with people. But it's simply because businesses are picking up. Thank goodness for that. And I've got to get things done. I'm running around. I don't get home till late. And if I miss a phone call, I try to make that phone call back. If I miss a message, I try to make it back. But I'm trying to evolve stuff here. And sometimes something may slip through the cracks and I may not get back to it as quickly as possible. So the prolonged texting without meeting, it could just be they're busy, but it could be something different. So I would say if you go 2 weeks without actually meeting, then yeah. But also make sure that you're also able to meet. I know there's a lot, I see this in the profiles all along. I work 2 jobs and I have 2 kids, but I'll make time for that special someone. That doesn't really sound like you're making time for anyone. It doesn't even sound like you have a whole lot of time on your hands anyway. So if you're going to go into this, make sure you do have the time to actually put into it. Try to get a babysitter every Saturday night, even if you're not dating. Try to get a babysitter. That way, there's a built-in mechanism already that you can say, "Oh yeah, I have a babysitter on Saturday. I can go out this weekend." You know, do it so you have a little bit of you time. Then you can use your you time to actually go out and date. And it won't be a hassle, and you don't have to make up the things of, I'll make time for you if you're there. Well, that doesn't really give a whole lot of confidence to people. So make sure you can actually do it before stepping in the arena. And as for this burn haystacks method, no, I don't think it's any good. I think you're setting up blockers for stuff. If you see a red flag, you see a red flag, just cross that person off. Doesn't mean every other person is doing the same thing. It just means you got to look a little harder. Like it's like looking for a car. You've got to find the right car. You got to make sure the motor's working. You got to make sure nothing's rusting and falling apart. You got to go through this process. It's not going to be the first one you see on the lot. There's probably going to be a couple lots you got to go to. There's probably a couple places you got to go through. And it might take a little time. But hang in there. It's getting better because methods are getting better. As I said, there's a few more dating companies that are at least coming to Orlando where you can go for a coffee. They have another one where it's a happy hour. You can get a drink. And they're getting cheaper and they're worth a shot. You're meeting people in real life. It's a busy place that they're doing it at. You're not alone at a movie theater, at a dinner, whatever. You can actually mingle. And then if you don't like the person, you know what? You're gone in 5 minutes or so anyway. So you're just putting in a little bit of time to listen to a little bit of BS, but you might actually find somebody who has an interesting story that might be good, or you might actually find someone you actually do want to date and see again. So if you're in a major city, just type speed dating, your city name, and see what pops up and give that a whirl. The apps are taking a hit from what I could see. I use several profiles to be able to go through. They are legitimate profiles. They're people I know. We're able to see who's on there, who's doing what. And honestly, it's recycling a lot. We found out in Facebook case, if you do a profile, go through the matches. Say you don't like some of them. Say you messed up somewhere. You delete your profile. You want to start over again. You want to get in. It literally takes the exact same row of people you saw the first time and sends it right back to you. So you're not even really seeing new people. You're seeing all the same people you already went through that you didn't want the first time. So yeah, the apps are not perfect. They're actually really terrible. And I think they're running out of people. I think people don't want to pay the money. Again, credit card debt soaring. You can't be paying for extras right now. A lot of people are going to be pulling out of the dating app memberships, especially if they feel they're not working at all. So you're going to see a lot of people just leave their profile up there. So you like a profile and it has been used in 6 months. There are a lot of people that are just going to cancel and just, they'll save their money up. Maybe once a month, go out and just go see what's going on at the jazz scene, or they'll go to the German restaurant, or they'll go somewhere, and maybe that's your shot to go find that person. But I would certainly use it as a backup. Have a profile on there. Hey, maybe you get a message from somebody, but don't use it as your main thing. It's time to actually start get back out into life and to actually start, enjoying life. Number one, go see some places you've probably never been to, and then meet some people, meet some interesting people. So that's my dating advice for this week. Let's see. Do we have any more? interesting comments. I think that's about it. I think we went through most of them. Thank you, Mary Jade, for the comments. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I'm gonna wrap up. Like I said, I've had a rough couple of days, but hey, I'm here for you people. So I'm on. It's gonna be 9 o'clock every Tuesdays. The Angriest Man in Orlando channel. I'll be on Thursday nights at 8 on the Two Men in a Room channel to have fun with all the crazy things that we bring up there. So, once again, people, thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. It's just growing, it's getting bigger and bigger. So, just keep going with it. I hope I can help everyone. These are the things I'm angry about, and I hope you're angry about them too. Together we can change it. Together we can change it. So thank you everyone for watching. I hope everyone has a great week. I'll see you back here next Tuesday. Stay angry, my friends.